Hi everyone, I just wanted to come on and do a kind of chat life hi video. Hi to my new subscribers. We are nearly 50 people now, which is amazing, and I'm so grateful to have you all here. I'm not going to have a writing video, write night video next week because I forgot to press record like twice, so I only had a couple of minutes of footage. And then the other night, I kind of wasn't writing because I didn't feel well, and then I ended up doing a little bit, but I didn't film it. So anyway, this is just a general chit chat. How are you? I hope everyone's doing well. It is Sunday evening here. I'm just going to start preparing some dinner for my kids. And I have been thinking about my writing journey and kind of how I came to be where I am, I guess. So I thought maybe I could talk a little bit more about that and also just like share a bit more about myself. I'd love to know more about you as well. So say hi in the comments. What am I going to do first? I need to get some garlic and a pan. Let's do that. So, oh yeah. I think that pan is in the wash. You know what? We're going to make it work with this baby pan because I'm only cooking a small amount. So let's use you. Where's the oil? Yeah. So I've been thinking about my writing journey. And I mean, it's quite a short journey so far because I only really started writing my book, which is a collection of short stories. I only started writing that at the start of January, so it's only been like 2 and a bit months. So I say it's a short journey, but actually it is kind of a long journey. So I said in one of my first videos that the stories that I'm writing, some of them, maybe most of them actually, are stories that have existed in some form for a lot longer. Some of them are like family stories from members of my family. Some are stories that I have written or half written or thought about for about 10, 15 years that I've just been kind of carrying around with me in my head. And some are newer ideas but with older sources of inspiration, if that makes sense. So it's actually kind of a longer journey to get to where I am. But then I was also thinking about my writing in like a broader perspective and thinking about my kind of long-term, I guess, passion and interest for writing, because when I think about it, that has actually been like a central kind of force in my life for a long time, since I was a kid, really. So I was always writing stories, poems, used to write stories, used to write also like scripts that then me and my friends would perform in primary school. Lots of things like that. Was always very, very much into reading. Read a huge amount as a kid and a younger person. I don't read that much these days, but when I was younger, I read a lot, and I absorbed a lot from that. So I can hear my kids, you can probably hear my kids like screaming upstairs. They are having a bath. Their dad is with them, they're not alone, but you may hear screaming and yelling at various points because that is what life is like. So yeah, I've always been kind of wanting to write things. I also used to do a lot of like comic strips, flick books, telling stories. Essentially, was always telling stories in some form. And then I mentioned in another video that my day-to-day work also involves a lot of reading and writing. And I think in my head, when I decided that I wanted to write this book and put all these stories together, I kind of compartmentalized my work and any writing I do there, and my sort of personal creative writing. And I never really thought of those things as connected. And it's only since I started properly writing these stories down the past couple of months that I've actually realized how closely connected my work and the stories are. Not in content or substance or any of those things, but just the fact that I write a lot for work anyway. So it's more in like the process. I realize that I'm familiar with the process of writing. It's quite normal and comfortable for me to sit down and write stuff, basically, and also do all the kind of any sort of reading, research, editing, all those kind of things feel quite natural to me because it's part of my day-to-day work life. So I am a social scientist by training. I'm an academic. I do academic research. And a huge part of being an academic is writing and publishing your research. So that is kind of a core part of my role, my job. So I'm very familiar with the writing process. Publishing process is kind of completely different, but that's another story. So I honestly never thought about the overlap between these two things because the substance of it is so different. Obviously the style of writing is very different, but nonetheless, writing is writing. So I'm starting to realize that actually I have kind of an advantage in starting out as a first-time author because I have this kind of familiarity with the writing process. And I'm going to be doing a video on how I break down the writing process later in the week. So I realized that actually I am in quite a good place to start writing as a new author because I'm used to so many different aspects of the writing process. And I'm also, you get really used to hearing a lot of critique as an academic. It's quite normal for your work to be sort of openly critiqued and questioned, as it should be, because it has to be robust. But you grow a bit of a thick skin in terms of receiving feedback, which can otherwise be, it still is sometimes kind of soul crushing, to be honest, but I'm just more used to it. So that's a little bit about my work, a little bit about my life and my family. So we live in the UK now, and I'm originally from the UK. We moved here around 1.5 years ago, and before that we lived abroad for I lived abroad for 10 years before coming back to the country. My partner is Italian. He'd never lived in the UK until we moved here, and my kids were not born here. So we have been going through a process of sort of integrating and embedding ourselves and our lives here. And now we've bought a house and we're pretty kind of settled. What am I going to do now? I'm going to put some basil and make this into like a zucchini pesto scenario. And then going to have that with some protein. I don't know why I'm telling you this, not a cooking channel. So far in my writing journey this year, I have written 2 stories. And I've started a 3rd story. I haven't done any editing, kind of curating of them yet. And I'm going to do all that afterwards. What I wanted to do is get the stories down that were kind of just completely in my head. Because like I said, some of them are already half written. And I knew that I needed to seize the moment and the motivation and get down those ones that I hadn't written down at all before. So get them out of my head onto paper and then work on the ones where bits were already drafted. So that's what I decided to do. However, I'm now at a point where there are a couple of stories that I think don't really fit in the short story collection that I'm planning to publish as a book. They just don't quite fit in the genre in the same way. They're like a bit outside it. So I'm wondering what to do with them. And one idea I had was entering them into some short story competitions. Like there, if you go on like Penguin Random House, for example, they've got like a list of their own writing competitions, but also ones run by other people, for people all over the world to fit various criteria. Some of them you need to be published, some of them you can be unpublished, and so on. And I thought maybe this is a good way to get out some of my writing before trying to publish the collection. So that's something I've been thinking about. If anyone has ever done that, or is, you know, sent their short stories to like a magazine, anything like that, I'd love to hear about your experiences of that, because it's not something, I think I entered like a competition when I was a kid or something. I won like a poetry competition, but I've never submitted anything to a magazine, to a competition or anything like that. So I don't really know where to start, but it's something that I'm thinking about. Yeah, that's about it. This is my tiny pan with my zucchini, basil and garlic. I'm gonna blend that up. That's gonna be a cute little sauce for a tiny pasta for my kids' dinner. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye.